Greetings sailors and welcome to a Patreon supporter replay in the Zieten. This is Armor playing possibly one of my least favourite ships at tier 8. I would be hard pressed to say whether I enjoy playing this or the Monarch less, but to be honest it would probably be this, just because it has such a turret awkward arrangement. Yes, brain, one of those. But I won't go too much over that. I have griped about this ship plenty in the past. This is more of a replay where, despite all the weaknesses of the ship, Armor is still going to manage to have a good time. But that's largely due to the enemy team. It does have a secondary build on this. I don't know how extensive of a secondary build, but certainly secondary manual secondaries rather, as we can see there from the icon at the bottom. I don't know if he's gone for maximum range or not, and he may or may not be using the buffed secondary reload speed skill as well, which, if you're going for pure secondaries, might be worth doing. It also gives you, I think, better AA DPS, but it's not really worth it for that, because AA is what it is, and what it is not very much. And someday, wargaming may actually bring back some interactivity and some genuine user engagement with the process of using AA, but for now it's just kind of an afterthought. And so, yeah, we can add that to the list of issues with the game generally, but I still think subs are worse. I'm at the stage where I just want subs to be gone. And there is actually a sub in this game on each team, but it's not going to be that big of a factor, I think, submarines in this one. I have had, this is a complete aside, but I have had a couple of games where it's like double subs and a CV, and it's usually a really unpleasant experience. Those are usually games where I'm like, okay, I'm just done for the day, that's it, no more warships. My mood just, you know, will be all downhill if I keep going after that nonsense. So yeah, it's a bit annoying when I'm trying to grind the Atlantica when I keep having games like that where I just for my own sanity stop. But yeah, fortunately the Atlantico grind hasn't been too bad so far. So we have a bit of an unusual push by the enemies into the middle of this cap. You don't normally end up seeing teams pushing like this at this stage of the game, certainly, and so this has presented quite the opportunity for Armor to sit and basically fire without being spotted, and potentially he could get quite the damage farm going here. I mean, his secondaries are certainly helping along a bit as well, but I don't think they're going to do anything too substantial. But yeah, sailing along broadside like that in the North Carolina, the Borodino is not very well armoured and certainly not suited for pushing in like that, but they're trying it anyway. Yeah, there's also cruisers back there, we know there's destroyers. This is not a good area to try and make a push through, but for some reason they're trying to do it anyway. And the only division on the enemy team is one of their battleships and the CV, so it's not like this is a division of ships that's all pushed in and then one or two ships have followed in after them. So I really can't explain it. Anyway, the North Carolina not looking very healthy, and this might even be the shot that finishes them off. Yep, there we go. First kill for Armor. They are by far the toughest battleship there. And now that they're out the way, well, the Borodino is a nasty ship in terms of its firepower, but in terms of its armour, pretty weak. It's really not a good ship for pushing in, and, well, sailing along like that broadside in a cruiser is also even asking for punishment. And punishment is exactly what that Harbin got. It was actually the secondaries that did the job there that finished him off. So that's his second kill with a close quarters. Oh, that's a lovely broadside Borodino. Let's see how this fares. And there's the third kill with double citadels. You do not do that in a Borodino. You just don't. There is no worse suited ship for it at tier 8, I think. I mean, there are certainly ones where you could also do massive citadel damage, but the Borodino is a particularly squashy tier 8 battleship, even more so than the Zieten. And, which is weird, because even though it's you know, all forward turrets, I still actually quite like the Borodino. But I think the Borodino's battlecruiser accuracy kind of makes up for it, whereas doesn't really feel like it with these 16-inch guns. Anyway, a bit of an unfortunate denial there. He's managed 3 kills so far, 84k damage. Bit of a shooting gallery, let's be honest. And it really looked like that Bismarck would be number 4, but alas, it was not to be. Looks like he'll get a second chance though. And the angling is not exactly fantastic either, so yeah, there we go. Takes a little bit of damage, but there we are. Only 1 kill away now from getting a Kraken. I almost said a Radley Walters there. Okay, Brain. Okay. Wrong game by quite a margin, but sure. So now the cap is free to be taken. We've got the Atlantico coming in from the side and that Lenin behind him. We've also got a couple of ships left elsewhere on the enemy side, but yeah, the other flank got one as well. I mean, this was a concentration of their battleships, really, and they did not do too well. So all that's left on this side is that Cossack, which is not the biggest threat in terms of actually managing to... oh no, it's not Cossack, it's a Benson. Well, okay, the Benson's a bit more of a threat than a Cossack in terms of torpedoes. Why did I think it was a Cossack? I don't know. It's definitely not a Cossack, you guys. Anyway, yeah, a bit more of a threat than a Cossack then, because the Cossack only has got the 4 torp tubes and not a particularly quick reload, but yeah, the Benson definitely more than that. The Benson's got, what, 10? There's also a Baltimore back there and the carrier making some moves, but they're going for the Atlantico this time and fortunately giving Armor a little bit of a break. The fact that it is the Karga and the Karga planes are rather weaker, it's not really helping out, especially these days. The plentiful plane reserves just means that the Karga can come at you with full squadrons much more often. It doesn't necessarily mean that you shoot down way more planes, it's just the losses that it will take are much more easily sustained, if I can put it that way. Anyway, that Karga rather out of range right now, so he's going to have to go forwards if he wants to deal with it. The Atlantico's pushing on a bit, and they could definitely use with some spotting from their own carrier at this stage, but their own carrier seems more interested in doing damage than trying to pick up that destroyer. So not the best team play there, to be honest. They absolutely could be helping a lot more, and this Atlantico is taking a bit of a pounding between the Karga and the Benson. So that really should be a priority for the Lexington. And yes, okay, the Benson can smoke up, but then that forces them to have used a smoke, whereas at the moment they've just been kind of getting a free pass. So, what's left? Well, there was the Kid, which for some reason in Lexington decided they were then going to go for. Again, not trying to spot the Benson, going for a destroyer that was already being handled by the ships on the other side. I'm guessing the Baltimore was radaring them, so yeah, no idea. And with the damage the Atlantico has taken, they are going to go down pretty soon. I mean, to be fair, they probably could have been taking better evasive action there as well. But I don't really think I can excuse the lack of spotting from this Lexington, given how close they are on this flank now. That was just poor team play and prioritising really the wrong targets. It's a good thing, by the way, that Armor is going into this with decent health. He's got only 1 heal left after this, though. He has had to use his heals fairly extensively, and this thing, you know, does get fewer heals, another reason why I don't like him that much. But yeah, the thing is, that health isn't going to last all that long, because now, as he is away from that big blob of AA that represents all of the other ships, that makes him a really, really prime target for the Kaga to do some last damage farming on. He's also quite struggling to hit this Baltimore. Again, this is the disadvantage of only having 6 barrels, is that it does mean that sometimes the RNG will really, really work against you, even with the quicker reload this thing has. Only 6 barrels is definitely something that is... what's the word I'm looking for? A penalty? I mean, it's the same reason people struggle with the Gneisenau, I think. Only having the 6 barrels is, yeah, it's definitely something you have to work around. But at least with the Gneisenau, it feels a lot more tanky. Anyway, that Kaga absolutely just doing some really horrid damage there. And even though it's still cargo planes, even though he's had cargo planes in his AA bubble for, I mean, I won't say, like, I don't know, but, you know, a while. It's not like he hasn't had planes flying around in his AA for an insubstantial amount of time, and he's only still shot down 10 of them. So, yeah, and now the Kaga trying desperately to see if he can get a last kill, but I think even if he did, Armor maybe wouldn't be too mad, because, hey, he did get his Kraken in the end, even though that Baltimore took probably an annoyingly long time to kill as far as Armor was concerned. But yeah, the cherry on top really is then getting to finish off that Kaga that was causing him so much pain for indeed a 6th kill. So that was half the enemy team and 150k to boot. There was quite a easy shooting gallery at the start, but yeah, things definitely got a bit tougher at the end. Even if he had been sunk, though, they still would have won. They definitely still would have won, but we can say Armor certainly did his part on that flank. 2,800 base XP. The Atlantico, actually, 1,800, that's pretty respectable as well. So, that was mostly main battery damage, but still 20k. Secondary battery plus another 12k fires, that's what, 32, 33k? That's not bad. Still well over 100k with the main battery, but it was worth something having that secondary spec. It was some bonus damage that he wouldn't necessarily have had otherwise. And to be honest, that's why you might as well go secondary spec on the Zieten, because the ship is going to be squashy either way. There's only so much you can do to improve its survivability, and so sometimes you will get that extra couple of tens of k damage from the secondaries that you would not otherwise have gotten. So I guess it's worth it for that, but I still really can't recommend it. It's still a definite weak point of the line, and it's a really hard ship to recommend, even though I'm sure somebody out there somewhere absolutely loves it for some reason. But who am I to judge, even though I will a bit. Anyway, so that is it for this replay. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did, you can do all the usual things down underneath the video, and of course, as always, stay tuned for more.